Today, President Biden issued a federal disaster declaration, freeing up funds for the devastating wildfires that have been sweeping across Hawaii. Officials say at least 53 people have died, making it one of the deadliest U.S. wildfires in decades. In Lahaina, which is one of the hardest hit towns on the island of Maui, historically and culturally significant sites have effectively been reduced to ash and rubble. And that includes the famous 150-year-old banyan tree that was planted in 1873 to commemorate the first Protestant mission to Lahaina, which was 50 years earlier. It is now severely burnt, but thankfully it is still standing. The historical Baldwin Home Museum, which is an 1830s-era house that was once home to a medical missionary who vaccinated the island against smallpox and is believed to be the oldest home in Maui, that has burned down. The walls of Wailoa Church, an 1820s house of worship where many of the early kings and queens of the Kingdom of Hawaii are buried, that was engulfed in flames, which you can see in that picture right there. And the Lahaina Heritage Museum, which sits in a historic courthouse and houses ancient Hawaiian artifacts, has been destroyed by the wildfires. Joining me now is Tai Kavika Tengon, professor of anthropology and ethnic studies at the University of Hawaii, Manoa. Professor, thank you for being here. I imagine this is a very difficult time for Hawaiians, as it is for all of us in America just watching it unfold, and our condolences to you and anyone you know on the island. For us on the mainland here, we talk so little and honestly know so little about Hawaii's pre-colonial history. What does it mean to have these artifacts and these structures destroyed by the wildfire?
Thanks, Alex. And first, I'd like to lift up all of those who've been impacted by the fires on Hawaii and Maui in our thoughts and prayers, and appreciate all the goodwill that's going towards the islands. With regards to the past, the pre-colonial past of Hawaii and the significance of Lahaina and those objects there, it's central to understand how important Lahaina has been in our history. It's the center of both political and religious power of the Maui chiefly lines. Pre-colonial times, our islands were organized into chiefdoms. The Maui lineage is prominently related to the Pi'ilani line. And King Pi'ilani unified the islands in the Maui, island of Maui in the 16th century. His daughter became a powerful lizard deity called Kiha-Wahine, who became an important protector of waterways, and her mana, her power, is also what allowed Kamehameha the first to unify all of the islands of Hawaii. So the place of Lahaina and that the power there is really felt across the islands, and to lose those representations of those history is really an important moment for all of the people of Maui, for Hawaii, and the world to think about what it means to carry on history and in what forms.
Yeah, and when we talk about how we carry our history forward, I think that's, I mean, a huge question as it concerns, like, what is actually unfolding in Maui today, right? This is a story in many ways about change. Climate change, about change in terms of agriculture and agricultural practices. I wonder if you think that there's enough of a conversation about how indigenous communities recover in the after effects of colonialism, industrial agriculture, and then, of course, how they are poised to weather the effects of climate change. All of those factors seem to have converged here. What's the discussion like on Hawaii about how to protect this, what I think is truly sacred land?
Thanks for that. The conversation among Kanaka Oiwi, or Native Hawaiians, in dialogue with indigenous peoples across the world, has always been that of making sure that our knowledge, our practices, our struggles are seen, because struggles for our sovereignty, for the continuity of our people on the land, is really about our efforts to maintain our in our language, kuleana, our responsibilities to steward the land in the right way, to make sure that it's there for future generations. This is knowledge that we carry on from those times of Pi'ilani and before Pi'ilani and try to bring forward into the present. Unfortunately, as you noted, those centuries of change have led to a kind of, in some ways, loss, in some ways, departure from those practices of good stewardship of land. And the knowledge is still there, though, and I think many of the carriers of that, including those in Lahaina, who, despite the fact that they've just lost structures, such as you noted, the museum, there's an important cultural center in Na'aikane, Maui, despite the fact that they've lost those physical structures and perhaps the objects there, they're nevertheless still committed to making sure that the world knows of the struggle to maintain these histories, the practices on the land, to restore the land in meaningful ways. Fish ponds and the taro terraces have been prominent in Hawaiian efforts to return us to a way of being in proper relationship to place.
It is a beautiful way of being. It is truly a magical place. And we wish you and all of Hawaii a swift recovery with all the knowledge and grounding in history that one can have at this critical juncture. Professor Tai Kavika Tengong, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Alex.